The Houston Texans travel to Arizona on Sunday to face the Cardinals. Arizona is installed as a 1-point favorite on BETDAQ. 41.5 is the total in this game. The Cardinals, a surprising team this year at 4-4. What's maybe most surprising about the Cardinals is they've been led by their defense. Now, they did have a good defense last season, but they lost their coordinator, Ray Horton, and several key players on that defense. So many people expected Arizona to take a step back on the defensive side of the ball this year, and that has not happened. The Cardinals currently rank top half of the league in both yards allowed and points allowed, and they've held their last 5 opponents to 22 points or fewer. Now on Sunday, they face a Texans team that ranks 28th in the NFL in points per game. They'll be starting Case Keenum at quarterback, who's making just his 3rd career NFL start. And their lead running back, Arian Foster, will miss this game. He's been ruled out with that back injury. So this sets up well for the Arizona defense, I believe. The Cardinals coming off a bye, so they've had an extra week to prepare for the Texans. Now, the Texans have a pretty good defense themselves. Houston leads the NFL in both yards allowed and passing defense. And Arizona has had real problems on offense this season. They rank 29th in total offense, 24th in points scored. So not expecting a whole lot of points in this game, and that's why we do see a low total here, 41.5. Again, the total on BETDAQ. Now listen, I've trusted Houston too often this year, and I have paid for it. Last week was the most recent example. I was on the Texans at home against the Indianapolis Colts. They had a 21-3 lead at halftime, 24-6 lead towards the end of the 3rd quarter, and they blew that game. So it's impossible for me to get back on the Texans this week. However, I keep on expecting them to sort of snap out of it and come through with the win. And again, I would not be surprised if they beat the Arizona Cardinals on the road in this spot. Case Keenum has looked good since he's come in over the last 2 games. Threw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns against a tough Indianapolis defense last week. And you look at the Texans' 2 most recent games against Indianapolis and Kansas City, teams with a combined record of 15-2. The Texans nearly won both of those games. They lost by a combined 4 points. So this team is better than their 2-6 record indicates. However, boy, trust me, this team will disappoint you. Not only did they crush me with the Indianapolis loss last week, but a few weeks ago, I believe the last time I backed Houston before this past week was when they blew that game to the Seattle Seahawks. Don't know if you remember that. It was the Seahawks' biggest 4th quarter comeback in franchise history. So the Texans have pulled the rug out from under my feet a couple of times this season. So again, I will not be trusting them this week. This will not be one of my best bets. But I guess feet to the fire, I do have a slight Texans lean in this situation because I do believe they're better than their record indicates, and I do believe that any week now they're going to break through with a win, and I don't think Arizona is quite as good as their 4-4 record would indicate. They've had real problems on offense this season. But I guess my favorite bet in this game would be the under. Again, 41.5 is a total. I know that's a low total, but we talked about these 2 defenses. Houston is dominant defensively. Don't let the points per game, or the points allowed stat fool you. The Texans do rank 27th in the league in points allowed, but that's because they've had 5 interceptions returned for touchdowns this season, and a couple other times where their offense has set up opposing offenses with short fields. So all of those points have not been scored against the Houston defense, and I do expect that defense to have a lot of success against this very mediocre Arizona Cardinals offense. And on the other side of the ball, like we said, Arizona has been playing very well on defense themselves. I'd be surprised if Houston moved the ball with ease in this game, went up and down the field. So I do like under 41.5 here. And I guess I have a slight lean towards Houston, even though I can hardly even look at the camera in the eye and say that after the way the Texans have treated me this season.